All right, the search for DeMeco Ryans staff has begun. We know that everybody's excited. There was a little pep rally feel to the press conference. I'm going to bring in the man who asked the first question, been asking the first question for a long time, and he might be able to give us some background on who this Bobby Slowik guy is that we keep hearing about in San Francisco, as well as many other things. Going to bring on John McClain in a sec. But first, like and subscribe. It is the main source of Texans digital content, The Locker Room. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610, home of the Texans. We talk to players, we talk to coaches, we talk to owners, and we even talk to John McClain. The king of Texas football is what I'll call you, John. I know you're a humble guy. You don't appreciate that. But how you doing, man? I know that was, as someone who's covered this franchise for a long time, I'm sure, I don't know where it ranks, but I'm assuming I was sitting by you. That DeMeco Ryans press conference has to be somewhere in the top 5 of the most exciting days in franchise history.
Well, first of all, I was wondering how long it's going to get me in the locker room. I thought I was going to have to pay you. In the last week, I've been at the Mr. October fundraiser in Palm Beach with 40 Hall of Famers, but this ranks right up there with them to finally get in the locker room.
Okay.
Answer your question.
We're starting this off with a lie, but okay. It's all good. I'm happy
well,
to
you
have
started,
you anyways.
You start all our radio shows on Tuesday off with a lie, so it just follows right up. So the answer to your question is the best I've ever seen. I've covered 15 head coaches with the Oilers and the Texans, and it blew me away more than any. And because he was so from the heart, and he wanted a job so much. He loves Houston. His wife Jamila's from here. They were building a house here. They started.
He wanted the job. He wanted the job. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he wanted.
I heard different. I heard different from a few people.
Yeah, I don't know what you heard, but you heard wrong, because right after the Lovey was fired, I talked to Miko, and he told me how much he hoped they reached out to him, because it was his dream job. You know, they built a home for wayward kids in Angleton, and they got married here, so they got a lot of ties. And he always loved Houston because he was treated so well. So, yes, he wanted it. And you could tell in the news conference, he spoke from the heart. I've never seen anybody more passionate about a job, not just the job of Houston, being back in Houston. And I think the fans, the media, the people with the Texans, the former players, they appreciate somebody that really wants to be here.
Yeah, and I had said this, and I didn't mean any like disrespect to like the nostalgia element of it, but when I was sitting in the press conference, I was kind of like, man, this is a pep rally. This is corny. Like, because DeMeco could have farted into the mic and he would have won the press conference just because of the nostalgia and the other stuff. So I tried to like separate, and I wondered if we were going to get like a legit press conference. But the actual substance of what he said, whether it was about the defense, whether it was about coaching guys, whether it was about even the offense, I think that was an A+ too. So it was almost like 2 A+ lumped into one thing, where he could have said anything and people would have been happy. He would have had a high approval rating. Like, you could have taken David Culley's dialogue and put it there, and it still would have been a highly approved press conference. But the actual substance and everything there just kind of added to it. Was just the perfect press conference. And it was clear to see why, one, everyone wanted him, it seems like, and two, why he wanted to be here, because let's be honest, a lot of people, would say, well, he might have just come here for money. Denver could have given him more money. Like, let's just be honest. Denver would have given him more money, but he really wanted to be here. So I just thought it was perfect all the way around.
He could have his agent, Jimmy Sexton, milk another $2 or $3 million, but he didn't want to play games. He turned down Carolina. He canceled the interviews he had with the Colts and the Cardinals and said it was because he's preparing for the Cowboys, but he didn't reschedule them. So he basically told everybody, and he told the Broncos, thanks, but no thanks. And the only reason he interviewed with them is they were set up before the Texans, and it's like a 4-hour interview. And I believe after that Zoom, he had to sell himself to Nick Caserio. And because the McNairs weren't going to make Nick hire somebody. So he sold himself to Caserio. And when they got off that Zoom, DeMeco said it went great. They said it went great. I think they knew then We got to get him in here and we got to make sure he doesn't leave town. And that's exactly what happened.
And he canceled his meeting with Indianapolis and Arizona. So that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Now, I always thought it was weird that people were saying he canceled it because he had to prepare. I mean, I'm sure he had time cleared up for interviews. So maybe that might have had something to do with why he canceled those. Maybe.
Could have been, but I think he could have rescheduled. But obviously, he already knew he wanted to come home to Houston. There was a good chance he was going to get it. And one of the things you do in an interview is they want to know about what offense you're going to run, what defense, who's going to call plays, who are you going to be your coaches, and if you don't get them, who are going to be the second and third. So he gave the McNairs a list at every position. I'm hoping he keeps Frank Ross. Texans had the best special teams in the NFL this season. I'm not sure about anybody else, but he wants some guys on the 49ers staff. There's one in particular, and I interviewed Kyle Shanahan. I wrote a column about what he said. It's on gallerysports.com, and I talked to him about his passing game coordinator, Bobby Slowik, who DeMeco had asked for permission to interview.
That's who I want to get to right here. Who is Bobby Slowik? We've seen all these Shanahan coordinators go. Mike LaFleur, it didn't work out with the Jets. Don't necessarily know that you can blame him for Zach Wilson, but they needed to get rid of someone. And we've seen Mike McDaniel. It works out in Miami, and just a plethora of Shanahan assistants. Bobby Slowik was their pass game coordinator. You talked to Kyle Shanahan about him. Who is Bobby Slowik?
His dad, Bob Slowik, is a longtime defensive coordinator. He's been a defensive coordinator for 4 teams. Right now, he's in the CFL. His son started off on defense, and his son, Bobby's 35. And then he was with Kyle Shanahan for 3 years in Washington. That's where they worked closely together. And then he went to Pro Football Focus in its infancy and worked there for 3 years. Then when Kyle got hired in 2017, 2 guys he called for quality control were Bobby Slowik and DeMeco Ryans. So DeMeco has come through that system with him, and there can't be anybody that knows it better than Bobby Slowik. This started with Mike Shanahan, handed down to Gary Kubiak, handed down to Kyle Shanahan. Everybody likes it. And a quarterback like Bryce Young would fit great in this system because you need a good arm, but you don't have to great arm. You got to be fearless. You got to be able to throw on the run. You got to make good decisions, be accurate, and he's all those things. And Slowik, Kyle Shanahan said, I don't want to lose him. DeMeco likes some of our coaches. Well, I like him too. And he said, DeMeco's trying to do what's best for the Texans. I'm trying to do what's best for the 49ers. And there's nothing Kyle can do about Bobby Slowik. Because if he comes here and he's offensive coordinator and he's going to call plays, he's going to have to let him go. And so money's not going to come in the way, Landry. The McNairs never let money come in the way, as you know. So if that's who DeMeco wants, he's going to get him. And another candidate that I like a lot is Clint Kubiak, Gary's oldest son, like Slowik, is 35. He was quarterback coach and offensive coordinator of Minnesota, went to Denver last year, and he was a quarterback coach. And then when Daniel Hackett got fired, and it was some point, I think it was the end of November, they had him call plays over the offensive coordinator who really struggled. And so I'm not saying it's going to be one of them. I wish it were. And Slowik, I think, since he's been with Kyle Shanahan the longest and knows the system the best, I'm going to predict that's the guy they're going to hire.
That's music to a lot of people's ears to get to that system. Do you think DeMeco's going to, just touching on it, you think DeMeco's going to call the defense?
It depends. If he has a coordinator he really wants, and that coordinator says, hey, Miko, I'm calling defenses here. Why would I come there and not call defenses? Or I've got an offer over here where I can call defenses because my head coach is a former offensive coach. So I think in that case, DeMeco would hire him. I don't think he'd be like Lovey and leave it unavailable. I think he would fill it, and I think there's a good chance he knows he needs to look at the overall picture. He's only been a coordinator for 2 years, only been a coach for 6 years. So on game days, he's going to need to be prepared for all that entails. And that's why I think he needs one or two former head coaches to be up in the booth to help him, be advisors to him, because he's going to get a lot of situations that he's got to be the last word, and he's never been the last word. He called defenses and he did game plans, but he ran it all by Kyle Shanahan because Kyle is a big picture guy. DeMeco's going to be a big picture guy. He's going to know special teams. He's going to want to know what's going on offense, but he will, of course, defense will be his baby. So I'm not sure if he'll call him yet. I think it has to do more with who he's able to get.
We talked about, we've talked about the offense. You're saying you think it's going to be Slowik. I don't think too many people would be disappointed by that. Do you think this DeMeco Ryans hire happens? Because I heard secondhand that there are people in the building saying that they're noticing a different Nick Caserio without Jack Easterby there. And I know that Jack likes to claim that he's the reason that Casario's here and all that. And he did have a big hand in it. But do you think if the POS, person of service, Jack Easterby is here, that DeMeco Ryans gets hired?
The POS, huh? No,
Person of service.
I think that if you shot up Nick Caserio with truth serum and said, did you contact people during your last two coaching searches? And they said no, because of Easterby, he would have to say yes. I know one general manager who was interviewed from Seattle, and he told him in the interview, told the McNairs, told the I can't remember if Easterby was there or not, but Jed Hughes was there, Jamie Roots was there. If was Jack Easterby going to be here? And they said yes. And he said, well, I don't want to waste your time. And he pulled out. Caserio, it was funny. I interviewed Damian Pierce today at TriStar shows, and there were several other media people there. And he used this example that DeMeco Ryans' hiring made Nick Caserio smile. So that was a big deal to get Nick Caserio to smile. He cracked a couple of jokes in the news conference. He's happy. Everybody's happy. Now think about Landry. Before they had to worry about Easterby, they had Deshaun Watson. They were limited about coaches that would come here, and they were a terrible team to the last 3 years. And so now it's like a dark cloud's been lifted. They couldn't have had a better hire. Nobody knows for sure how DeMeco's going to do. Listening to Kyle Shanahan talk to me for 30 minutes and having him tell me all the reasons behind the scenes and things that he has seen, he said DeMeco was more of a coach as a rookie than I was when I came there the same year to work for Gary Kubiak. And listening to Kyle talk about him just blew me away. And if Kyle Shanahan, who's been with DeMeco, he's known him now for 10 years, worked with him for 10 years, if he thinks he's going to be successful, then I think he's going to be successful.
So Kyle was pretty high on him, and he was pretty high on Slowik too?
Absolutely.
Man, how about that? How about what Kyle Shanahan has become? I feel bad for Kyle. He's almost too good because he has to replace assistants every damn year now.
That's one thing they got to do here, and the McNairs will let DeMeco do it. You have to have an assistant at every position, because when you lose that position coach to an offensive or defensive coordinator job, or you lose a coordinator to a head coaching job, you got to have a guy who's well schooled in the system, that you as the head coach knows him inside and out, and you're confident to promote him and give him the same responsibility. So I think that's the way DeMeco will operate, the same way the 49ers do.
You talked to but before I get you out of here, you talked to Pierce. I saw Petrie was at the TriStar too. He seems like he's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this new scheme, a little more cover 3, a little closer to the line of scrimmage. I'm assuming that he's pretty giddy about this.
Oh, he's giddy about it, all right. In fact, he pointed out how fired up his family is, the fans, his friends, because he grew up here. I asked him, I said, you've been in Houston when things were great, and you've been in Houston when things are terrible. What's the feeling around the neighborhood, your parents and all that? And, of course, everybody is caught up. I haven't seen anything negative about this from anybody. And he's pumped, especially since DeMeco's talking about blitzing him. And when he played at Baylor, and he was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, I think he had 3 sacks, and he would blitz off the slot receiver. And a lot of times quarterback got rid of the ball, but he was very disruptive. And he missed a lot of tackles last year, which he never did at Baylor. And one thing I like, of the many things I like, one of them is the fact DeMeco Ryans' defense, they didn't miss tackles. Texans defense missed all kinds of tackles, bad angles, bad technique. And boy, I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
John, I appreciate you. I'm going to talk to you on Tuesday. What, are you in a sauna or what? Is that how we're living there? That looks almost like sauna-esque. What where are you at? I see you on Outkick. Normally you
Yeah,
have like a bunch
I'm
of
in a
plates.
sauna right here. I have a sauna in my mansion. I have a big screen TV right outside the door. So anytime you want to come over and sweat and watch my big screen, you just let me know.
Is that really a sauna?
No, it's my wall in the den.
You do have a big screen TV. We're going to
It's
get you a
funny.
new phone.
The
We're gonna
guys
get
on
you a new phone.
I got it. I need one fast. The guys
Oh,
on
we're gonna bully Carol into getting her a new phone like we did the TV. Don't tell her though.
She's going to give you. Let me get that new phone. It won't be near as hard as the TV. Guys on Outkick said I look like I'm in a basement when I was in middle school. It's where kids used to have parties and the kids would make
Feel
out.
like I'm watching Dahmer right now.
Oh, they're all pretty good, but yeah, I'm in my den.
You got all those plates behind you on Outkick. I feel like I'm like in an antique shop when I'm watching your Outkick stuff.
I started doing it right here. I want to put some things behind me. Carol won't let me.
Why? We got to get like some McClain, like a McClain logo or something.
I should call her over here and get her to tell you why. She's right off camera.
Nah, hey, it's one thing for me to talk about.
Tell him why we're doing.
No. Hey, it's one thing for me to
yeah,
joke
you don't
about
get
it,
in the middle of it.
No,
you just stir it up from afar.
I'm stirring it up from afar. Carol called the shots as soon as she gets to me. So tell Carol, no, whatever she says goes. Take the TV back.
I'll tell her.
All right, man. I appreciate you,
Thanks
John.
a lot, Landry. I'll see you Tuesday.
All right. Talk to you on Tuesday. That's the great John McClain, the legend, the man. He joins us every Tuesday on the Odyssey app. It's the longest visit, the only in-studio visit with John McClain in town. We talk to players, we talk to coaches. We're at the games before tailgating. We're in the locker room after, and we're doing post-game shows right here. Number one source for Texans digital content. So who is Bobby Slowik? He's a guy who Kyle Shanahan likes a lot. John McClain talked to him for half an hour, said he had a lot of good things to say. Could we see a Kubiak? Maybe so. That could be another option as well. But the offensive staff is being built, and hopefully you know a little bit more now about Bobby Slowik than you did before, and I hope you appreciate that clip art. Little Mike Jones album motivation for that, if you caught that. No matter what happens, though, keep it locked, subscribe, and remember, we are all in this together. Have a good one, folks.